Annie. She walked into her interview at the candy store I managed, awkward and nervous. Only 16 at the time, she was eager to leap into her first job. She rambled through the interview, her words tumbling out in a rush of excitement and anxiety. That's when I knew she was a perfect fit. I saw so much of the charm and quirks that had made me great at what I did, and I knew she had the potential to thrive with a little guidance. Before we wrapped up, I told her she had the job if she wanted it. Her smile was enormous as she accepted and left giddily thrilled at the opportunity. It didn't take long to realize that Annie had a uniquely special personality. She was immediately warm, inviting, friendly, and effortlessly helpful. She wasn't just good with people, she truly connected with them. Her ability to listen and relate was remarkable, not just from a managerial standpoint, but as a fellow human being. She didn't see customers as walking wallets, and neither did I. Annie savored the joy of meeting new people, embracing every little nuance of interaction with enthusiasm. Of course, her inexperience sometimes shone through in the most endearing ways. I'll never forget the day she called to ask how to use an ATM. Step by step, I walked her through her first transaction, trying not to laugh as she nervously fumbled with the buttons. Then, there was a time I explained why the Australian candies were mixed with the European ones in the store. A moment of sheer, blissful ignorance on her part. It was these little moments of naivety that made her even more lovable. But not all days were easy. One afternoon, Annie came to me in tears. Some classmates who had been taunting her at school decided to continue their bullying at the store. They made her feel small, ugly, and unwanted. My heart shattered watching her cry in the back room. I pulled her into a hug and tried to counter their cruelty with love. Looking into her eyes, I reminded her, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. After a few minutes, she composed herself and walked back into the store with her head held high. When I was going through my divorce, Annie was my rock in ways she probably didn't even realize. She made it her mission to distract me at work, often pointing out hot guys in the store just to make me smile. She injected joy into my darkest days, and her playful, caring energy was like a balm for my broken heart. Without realizing it, this young girl became one of the most important sources of support in my life. Eventually, the time came for me to leave that crooked candy store, and with it, my connection with Annie began to fade. Just a few months later, COVID lockdowns hit. I spent nearly 2 years in isolation, writing essays like this one, while Annie kept working in the food industry to support herself. By then, she was an adult, carving her own path. We exchanged the occasional message, but the divide between us grew wide. I later discovered she'd lost my number and had been messaging my old one, thinking I was ignoring her. When we finally reconnected, the relief was mutual. Annie confided in me that she needed a new job, and as fate would have it, I needed more birthday hosts at the bowling alley where I now worked. I convinced her to join me again, and just like that, our partnership was rekindled. At first, there were hiccups. Annie was hired as a food runner instead of the birthday host role I envisioned for her. I took it personally, selfishly, I just wanted her on my team. But once the misunderstanding was cleared up, Annie found her groove doing both jobs. Watching her navigate this new environment reminded me of how much she had grown. She's not a kid anymore. The days of walking her through an ATM transaction are long gone. Now she asks tougher questions. Questions about adulthood I don't always have the answers to. Our roles have shifted and I'm no longer her guide in the same way. But I can still be her safe place, her sounding board, and her biggest cheerleader. The nostalgia of our past wafts in every time she walks into the bowling alley. We're both older, with new challenges and responsibilities, but our bond remains unshakable. Annie is like the little sister I never had. Flighty, giggly, overly stressed, yet endlessly endearing. Even when she doubts her worth, I hope she can look back on these words and understand the profound impact she's had on my life. If I've learned anything from Annie, it's that love and loyalty are ageless and timeless. We've grown together, laughed together, and healed together. With every warm embrace, we reaffirm that we're stuck with each other for life. Two weird peas in a pod, giggling our way into old age.